What's up, my comic comrades? A couple of weeks ago, we cracked open Stan Lee's 2001 Just Imagine DC comic series, which is where DC gave Stan the chance to take several of DC's most iconic characters and rewrite their stories the way he would have told it. And as is fitting, our first video in the series covered Stan's take on Superman, which you could find right here. But today, we're returning to the series to find out what his version of Batman looks like. So if you ever wondered what Stan the Man would have done with The Dark Knight, today is your lucky day as we spotlight DC's Just Imagine Stan Lee's Batman one-shot. Let's jump in. The issue starts off with us being introduced to the Bruce Wayne of this universe, whose name is Wayne Williams. We see him with his mother at a cemetery in the rain. We find out through their conversation that his dad was a cop and he was gunned down while on duty. Wayne is bitter about this, and his mother tells him he wouldn't want us to be bitter. But as the two continue to walk home in the rain, he tells his mom he spent his life trying to make a difference, and where did it get him? This ain't a neighborhood, it's a war zone, as they see someone in an alley getting beat up by a man known as Hands and his cronies. His mom tries to interfere and help the man they're picking on, but Wayne quickly says, "Come on, we gotta go, Mom, in our fight," shooing her away. We then see the next morning that Wayne works at a mini-mart, and his boss doesn't like him, as his boss tells him, "Move it, Williams, I pay you to stack those cans, not to play with them." Wayne sees Hands and his girlfriend walking by on the sidewalk as a rival gang does a drive-by trying to kill Hands, so he ducks out of the way behind a car, leaving his girlfriend to fend for herself, at which point Wayne says, "The girl's in the line of fire," so he jumps out the window and forces her down on the ground for safety. But Hands doesn't like this, and once the people who are trying to kill him drive off, Hands tells Wayne, "Who said you could mess with my lady? No two-bit punk acts like a hero when I'm around." Wayne says, "I just tried to help." Hands says, "Yeah, try that again and you'll get what your father got." Wayne tells him no one talks about my father like that, but Hands just smacks him across the face and then grabs Wayne by the hand, saying, "In case you've been wondering why they call me Hands." He then proceeds to crush Wayne's fingers. Ultimately, Hands' girlfriend says, "If you don't let him go, I'll leave you." So he does, saying to Wayne, "Don't make future plans. Know what I mean? You ain't seen the last of me." Then a couple of days later, as Wayne is working at the mini-mart, three thugs come in holding up the place at gunpoint, saying, "We got here as soon as we could, Wayne. Thanks for the tip, man. We knew we could count on you, Wayne." But Wayne has no idea what's going on, saying, "What are you talking about?" As his boss says, "You slimy fink, you set me up." At which point the thugs shoot the boss in the shoulder, steal some money, then knock Wayne out and plant a gun in his hand. A few days later, while testifying in court, Wayne's boss says, "The Williams kid was one of them, after me giving him a job. They must have been fighting over the money after I got shot. That's how he got knocked out." And with no other witnesses or evidence to defend Wayne, he's found guilty of armed robbery and sent to prison, with his mom heartbroken, telling Wayne, "I'll pray for you, son." As he tells her, "I didn't do it, Mom, I swear." And the guards say, "Let's go." We then see Wayne behind bars saying, "It was Hands. He framed me. He put the gun in my hand. But I'll get even, no matter how long it takes. I'll find a way to pay him back." Right after this, we see that in the following weeks, the prison has assigned Wayne to work the sewing machine, which of course, he doesn't like. We also see every night in the cell, Wayne just stares at the moon, thinking to himself, "I gotta get my mind off Hands, or I'll end up in a padded cell." He then feeds bats bird crumbs, so they come to his cell window. And over time befriends one of the bats, and it becomes his pet. Elsewhere, we see Hands is rising in power as a crime boss known as the King of the Hood. We also see that his girlfriend Nita is mad that he framed Wayne, but he just tells her to shut up and that he got what he deserved. Back in the prison courtyard, prisoners are lifting weights, and one of the meatheads out there named Corgo is picking on someone, so Wayne goes to defend that person, but Corgo just throws him against the wall, almost knocking him out. An old inmate goes over to check on Wayne and says to him, "You're young and healthy. You've got good potential. No need to be a victim. It's too late for me, but those barbells, use them. Build yourself up. There's a library. Develop your mind too. Don't let your time here go to waste." Then they realize that they're actually cell neighbors and start talking to each other at night, with the old man saying, "My name is Frederick Grant. The guards have told me about you." Wayne asks, "What are you in for?" He says, "I'm a scientist. A factory was polluting a river. They wouldn't stop. I tried to damage its machinery. I got caught." Frederick then tells Wayne, "A word of advice? Study the winged pet of yours. Bats have some powers that surpass those of humans." Then over the next few months, we see that Wayne took Frederick's advice and started training and lifting weights, bringing his body to peak physical condition, as we see him working out vigorously. Okay, so it seems Wayne Williams is on his way to becoming the Cape Crusader. And speaking of transformations, I recently went through some AI transformations myself, thanks to today's sponsor, Wonder. Wonder is an app that turns words into digital art through the power of artificial intelligence. And it's nearly impossible to notice that a human artist didn't create the artwork. All you have to do is describe what you want Wonder to paint, such as Batman Iron Man hybrid or Spider-Man Superman boy band portrait, then pick a style and hit create. Honestly, I completely lost track of time testing all sorts of crazy combinations. For instance, I entered the Dark Knight detective battles an army of Nordic monsters, dramatic lighting, mountains of Norway, snow, and medieval weapons. Then selected the mythological style, and boom, the Wonder AI created this dope art piece in seconds. It's pretty incredible. It also allows you to generate new results for the same search. So if you need to bring an idea to life or just want to create some compelling social media posts, Wonder is the way to do it. Their premium version includes over 20 styles, allows for unlimited art, is faster, and has no ads. Just click our link in the description to download Wonder and get a free trial of premium to put your creativity to the test. I'll also add that Wonder is a great tool for generating creative inspiration, especially if you're a storyteller. Just throwing that out there. But again, click our link below to download Wonder and get a free trial of the premium version today. Now, as Stan Lee's Batman stories continue, we see Wayne and Frederick continue to talk at night and learn that Frederick is a doctor of physics, but also an adventurer at heart. As time passes, Wayne eventually gets a letter telling him his mom died, which leaves him feeling serious remorse. And he says to himself, she's dead because no one was there to take care of her. She died before I could prove I was innocent. Now I'll never have a chance to make it up to her. None of this would have happened if not for Hans. Hans will pay for this. I swear it on my mom. We are then taken to a cult church led by Reverend Dominic Dark called the Church of Eternal Empowerment. And we see that one of their followers works at the prison and is ordered to open all the cells to let the prisoners go. All the prisoners then band together to kill the warden, but of course Wayne interferes and saves the warden as he starts brawling with a bunch of prisoners. This leads to the warden giving Wayne a pardon, which ends up in the paper with Hans reading it saying he's getting out of the slammer, got himself a pardon. His girlfriend says maybe they learned he was innocent. He replies, no way. The rat just turned against the other cons. One of the Hans thugs says he's the only one who can finger us. Hans agrees, saying we're gonna have to find him and finish him for good. Meanwhile, we see Wayne is released and needs a place to stay, and he says, I need to think and plan, as he finds a super cheap dirty hotel to stay at in the meantime. Once in the hotel room, we see that he took his pet bat with him from prison, and he says, you ain't much, but you're the only friend I got, as he feeds him. He then stares in the mirror and says, first off, I gotta make sure I'm not a sitting duck for Hans Triggerman. The harder it is to find me, the more uptight he'll get, and that's how I want it, as we see him shave his head and his beard. He then turns on the TV and starts watching wrestling, saying, a wrestling ring? What a phony crock. I could make a better costume in my sleep. But the fans eat it up. Gotta admit, they're fun to watch. As corny as they are sure putting on a great show. And according to the announcer, most of them make a pile of dough. He then says this was staring me right in the face. All I gotta do is buy some fabric. So he does, and he makes himself a costume. The next day he heads to a professional wrestling gym. He then walks into the gym saying, hey, you got yourself a new wrestler. The coaches turn around saying, who are you? He answers, you can call me Batman, as we see him in a literal bat costume. I'm just gonna say what most of you are thinking. This costume is absolutely ridiculous. It's literally just a humanoid bat, but whatever. It is what it is. Let's continue. Anyway, the coach says, it takes more than a costume, mister. Let's see how long you last in the ring with Steamroller. Steamroller then looks at him saying, I'll give the cornball 10 seconds. Needless to say, Wayne gets in and easily defeats Steamroller, saying Steamrollers may be big and strong, but in case you haven't heard, they're too freaking slow. At this point, everyone watching is like, did you just see that? Nobody has ever done that to Steamroller. He made it look easy. Who is he? One of the guys says, I don't care who he is. Sign him up now. We then see over the next couple of months, Batman becomes the most popular wrestler ever, doing late show interviews as Batman, as not to reveal his identity to the public. This leads to a bunch of ads and endorsements, which also leads to Wayne Williams becoming rich. So he finally buys a mansion in the Hollywood Hills overlooking the glittering lights of Los Angeles. I gotta say I love the Spider-Man homage here, since this is Stan Lee's take on Batman. It's funny that he kind of incorporated that wrestling bit with his Batman origin, much like how Peter Parker had pro wrestling as part of his origin. Very clever, Stan. Very clever. Anyway, Batman then perches on the balcony of his mansion while saying, it's time to go after Hans. I'll get only one shot at him, and if it fails, it's over. The place he lives in is like an impenetrable fortress. He's got armed bodyguards around the clock. His hands are lethal weapons. They say he fears nothing, but he's never faced Batman before. After this, we see Batman go to track down his old cell neighbor, Frederick. He then reveals himself to Frederick, saying, hey man, you're a scientist and an inventor. I need your wisdom and knowledge. Come with me and I'll pay you to invent things for me. Eventually, Frederick becomes Wayne's Alfred/Lucius Fox. Once back at Wayne's mansion, Frederick says, bats see in the dark. I could add built-in night vision lenses to your mask. Bats hear through a sort of a radar sense. It wouldn't be hard to give your mask an electrical sensor that would magnify sound. Bats fly. Why not you? Your cape could be configured like bat wings so you could glide on currents of air. Now, bats aren't bulletproof, but there's no reason you couldn't be. I'll add Kevlar material to your costume and the inside of your cape. Wayne says, perfect. Spend as much as you need, but do it fast. After he makes modifications to Wayne's costume, he goes after Hans. He breaks into Hans' place and takes out all of his thugs, and then starts getting into a one-on-one fight with Hans. They exchange several blows before ultimately Hans charges Batman while he's up against the balcony, so Batman just uses his legs to kick Hans up and over himself in the balcony, causing him to fall to his death. Batman then looks down saying, that's for my parents and for me. Nita, Hans' girlfriend, then tells Batman, I prayed for something to free me from Hans, but not this, not murder. Whoever you really are, your mask doesn't give you the right to kill. He replies to Nita, you don't understand. She says, how do you know my name? He says, I can't tell you yet. As he says to himself, she's got no job, no place to go. I'll have Frederick Grant contact her and say he needs a secretary. No matter what she thinks of me, me, I want her in my life. We are then taken back to the cult church where they declare this new Batman their enemy. Then on the final pages, we see Batman has made quite an impact on Los Angeles as he's all over the paper saying Batman strikes again as he's helping to take down crime in LA. We even see kids pretending to be him, and with that, the issue ends. This was my first time reading Stan Lee's Just Imagine Batman issue, and I gotta say, as a lifelong Batman fan, I personally wasn't over the moon with this take on the character. Don't get me wrong, it's very interesting to see how Stan would approach the Dark Knight, but it just didn't land as well for me as I'd hoped. I don't know, maybe I was expecting something different. DC gave Stan full reign to do whatever he wanted, and he went with a very different direction from the Batman we all know and love. Which isn't revolutionary or a bad thing, I just didn't click with this version of the story, especially his suit. Overall, I thought it was okay. But what do you guys think of Stan Lee's take on Batman, and would you like us to cover the other DC characters Stan Lee reimagined, like Shazam, Wonder Woman, and Green Lantern? Let us know in the comments. First up for the week of December 21st, we have Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths issue 7. The Great Darkness is defeated, but the final war has only just begun between the remaining heroes and Deathstroke's Dark Army. The Justice League and the Infinite Earths have returned, but at what cost? This is the finale of the event series and the dawn of the DCU heading into 2023. Next up, we have Berserker issue 11. The series returns with a vicious battle that returns us to where it all began. It's Cult Forces versus Black Ops, as B travels to the metaphysical blue plane with Diana's help. And as the series approaches an explosive close, is B finally near the end of his fatal goal, or will his violent efforts be in vain? Third on the list is Deceased War of the Undead Gods issue 5. A greater chaotic force enters the battle, and in doing so threatens reality itself. As more heroes fall and whole galaxies are lost, the most powerful forces across the cosmos must stop watching from the sidelines and finally act. Here we have Gunslinger Spawn 15. Gunslinger has finally gotten the upper hand against those hunting him. But when Radcliffe creates an uneasy alliance with a mysterious benefactor, Gunslinger may be forced to run again. And last but not least, we have Black Panther 12. Just as T'Challa thinks his past secrets lay buried with the dead, the true identity of his latest enemy has left him shaken. With no kingdom, no Avengers, and no allies, who is left to aid T'Challa against the monster of his own making. And that's gonna bring today's episode to a close, but if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out this one right here. And as always, if you like our content, if you like our channel, subscribe, like, and comment. It always helps the channel grow. But other than that, I'll see you next time when I talk about all things comics.